Breakfast. BBC Radio Berkshire.
7:43. Now, imagine being told that you're going to have to pay £77,000, and if you don't, you're going to lose your home. This is the reality for Paul Harrison. Paul is from Maidenhead. The cost to extend the lease on his house has multiplied by 6 since he bought his maisonette back in 2005. It's really not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, isn't it? Let's find out more about his situation. Paul has been talking to our reporter, Niranjana El Paratha.
When I realised what had happened, I felt really, really sick. And I've been having restless nights. I've been thinking about this a huge amount. It's a horrible situation to be in. So I feel angry and anxious of what we're going to do about it. I don't know what we're going to do about it. I don't know what it's going to cost. I don't know how we're going to pay that money.
How many years left do you have?
36 years.
36 years. How old are you?
60.
60. You know, you can kind of argue you might not be here until...
My wife is younger. I would like my sons to have an inheritance of what we've put our whole life savings into. I would quite like to live into my 90s if I can be healthy, but the idea of them being faced with having our home taken away in our 90s, it's heartbreaking.
In terms of the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act that has recently come into bill and come into law, the fact that it's pending in coming to effect, how do you feel about that? I mean, do you want to wait it out until it comes into effect?
I feel very torn because obviously the cost of the lease renewal is going up. I've no certainty of whether the actual legislation will improve the position or not. If I'm honest, I don't really understand how it's calculated. It's very complicated. Once you go under 50 years, it's like they make the numbers up. I don't know how the numbers are calculated there. So I feel the legislation should help. So I would like to wait, but I'll probably try and get a quote now and see how things progress. But I would like the anxiety to be addressed as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And, you know, having that number and coming to terms with that number, how does it feel with, you know, your whole life saving, using those whole life savings just to extend the lease, extend a property that you bought?
I don't know how to answer that without using the wrong expletives. It's shattering, really. It's just not something I could ever imagine happening, yet it is. I almost don't believe it. It amounts to the entire inheritance of both my parents put together to just give to this person that does nothing for me.
Yeah. Janet is from the same maisonette complex and feels like she doesn't have any options in what's happening.
So basically the best thing you can do is sell your house and take the money from what you get from the sale.
Are you thinking of selling your house? Or?
No, not at the moment, because I'm going to be dead fairly soon, so I'm not really going to do that. It's my kids and grandchildren.
And is that a worry for you?
No, it's not a worry. It's just a bloody nuisance, that's all it is. If you own your own house, you own your own house. And the lease shouldn't be allowed to go up by thousands and thousands of pounds. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. What Janet referring to there is this new legislation which should benefit people like Paul and Janet becoming law but isn't fully active yet. Let's just unpick this a little bit. The Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, by the way, have chosen not to comment at this time on the story. But how widespread is this problem? Katie Kendrick is from the National Leaseholder Campaign. Hello, Katie. Let's just talk a little bit about this. We should explain what on earth this leaseholder thing is, because it's complicated, but it is one that affects so many people.
It really does, Phil. You know, there's over 5 million leaseholders in this country, up and down the country, all experiencing many different issues to do with leasehold. You know, and I must correct, leasehold isn't home ownership. Leasehold is a long-term tenancy agreement, so it basically allows you to occupy that property for the duration of the lease. When that lease expires, the building, the property reverts back to the freeholder, who is the ultimate owner of that property. So that's why a decreasing lease in length is becoming more of a problem.
And it's one of those things. I mean, the thing is, I think we assume. When I bought my flat, I'm a leaseholder, and it's kind of the concept is, you're buying a property, and then there's this little caveat alongside, but you are also going to have to pay a maintenance fee or something like that for this. And there's normally, when you buy, it would have like 99 years, this huge number attached to it, where you think, well, that's not a problem. It's way beyond my lifespan. But then, as you said there, the years tick by, and then eventually they get to a point where actually it's a proper problem. And it stops people selling their homes, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, because the golden number here in terms of lease length is not to allow a lease to fall below 80 years, because if your lease is below 80 years, when they calculate how much that lease extension is, something comes into play here called a marriage value. Now, if it's over 80 years, there is no marriage value to take into consideration. Now, the marriage value is known as the increase in the property total value once the lease is extended. It's really, really complicated, but basically you need to not let your lease drop below the golden number of 80 years, because it is extortionate to extend the lease if it's allowed to go below 80 years.
Yeah.
Now, what we've just had passed in government is the Leasehold and Freehold Act that you referred to, which is absolutely brilliant. So that was the last act to go under the old government. So we were really pleased that got through. But what we now need is secondary legislation to turn on that act. So the act is actually currently pointless for people in these positions, because marriage value is still in effect. Now, once the act is switched on, they said they're going to abolish marriage value. So yes, that will make extending your lease much cheaper.
Yeah.
But what that will look like.
Go on. Well, I was just going to ask, is there any indication? I don't think it appeared in the King's speech this time round. So have Labour shown any sign of... Oh, it did? Okay. So,
it did.
So it's a matter of time, is it?
In the King's speech. It is time. The new government have said that they will enact all the Law Commission recommendations, which is a big piece of work that they did, but they will also give a commencement date of the Leasehold and Freehold Act. So that's what we need. We need a commencement date, because until we get that, then there's so many thousands of people that are in this situation of leasehold limbo. So they're currently sat in these properties, unable to sell them, probably unable to change mortgage providers, because mortgage providers are very aware of these issues and don't want to lend on these properties with short leases, and people can't afford to extend them because the like your viewer said before, the calculation is so complicated, and basically leasehold is completely stacked against the leaseholder. It purely benefits the freeholder, and the leaseholder has to pay all of their legal fees in the whole of the process. So there's no incentive to get this deal done quickly, because the leaseholder just racks up the bill. Now, in the new legislation, the freeholder is responsible for all of their own legal fees, which would be brilliant. So that's
changes the tables a bit, doesn't it? Balances it out. Katie, thank you very much.
It really does.
Yeah, we're out of time. Katie Kendrick there from the National Leaseholder Campaign. We'll keep our eyes on that and wait. Of course, we just need to wait for the button to be pushed on it by the sounds of it.